and basically the whole country of Canada behind them. Montreal was a great franchise until then, and the strike hurt them, the inability to build a new ballpark. I understand the attempt to secede from, Quebec's attempt to secede from Canada. That destroyed the team financially also. I was just kind of looking, here's one of the weaknesses of the rules, is that they say you can only vote for 10. You could vote for 10 when there were 16 teams in the major leagues. You could vote for 10 when there were 24 teams in the major leagues. We're up to 30 teams now, and we've gone through a few years where the ballot has been very crowded. And if I seem to struggle with this, 2017, Bagwell, Raines, Pudge Rodriguez, they get in. Let's see here, 2018, Chipper Jones, Vladimir Guerrero, Jim Thome, Trevor Hoffman. Then last season, I believe we had 4. And someone will probably know this off the top of their head. Mariano Rivera, Edgar Martinez, who took forever to get in, partly because of the backlog. Roy Halladay, Mike Mussina. My feeling on this is, I think, and we had a year recently where nobody got in, even with this backlog of quality players. I think that backlog's been cleared greatly. As has been mentioned here, Derek Jeter, in all probability, will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't see another first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't see a huge glut of guys who are definitely Hall of Famers. So if people are being fair and they look at all the numbers, and maybe now they can spend a little bit more time looking at Walker's case without other guys crowding it. Because frankly, I think that when a writer's looking at the ballot and there are a bunch of guys there, maybe some of them aren't going to work as hard to dig through Larry Walker's numbers like a Jake Jaffe does. But maybe I think there's a better chance for him. I actually think that because this backlog has been cleared, there may be a better chance for Todd Helton than I thought during his career. Because I thought, frankly, he would fall into the same category. So I think that at this stage, there is less of a backlog. Maybe the writers have more time to go over all this stuff. I mean, man, this has been one of the best things I've ever seen. Absolutely wonderful. And another thing that I think will help Todd Helton's case, that didn't help Walker's case, and I'm not picking on the Rockies here, but they basically came into this with a rule or an idea that they didn't retire anybody's number until after they got into the Hall of Fame. That was sort of the principle. They bent it for Todd Helton, which I think they should have. They probably should have done this a lot sooner for Larry Walker. I think that as a writer, coming into Coors Field, looking around, and you see that number up there, that sticks with you. And I really think that I would like to see them do that this year, whether he gets in or not, but I think it is overdue. So there is a better chance for him now than there has been. I think the work that's been done here by everyone here will make a difference. But let's see what happens when the voting goes on.
I'm sneaking in and stealing the mic for a second. My name is Drew. That's not important. I was going to bring up the retirement number. Well, for this particular event, it's not important. But we were talking about ways to let the Hall of Fame voters know. And I've got a really great guerrilla tactic idea. Manny didn't want to bring it up because he's a class act. He's working on a book right now. It's going to be out in less than a month about the Blake Street Bombers. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of great Larry Walker stuff in there. I think everybody in this room should buy a copy of the book and send it to a Hall of Fame voter who isn't voting for Larry Walker. And if they just get a couple of books in the mail, one book they might go, who sent me this book about Larry Walker? But 2 or 3, they might start to actually think about whether or not they should look into this thing and vote. So I just want to mention that. Everyone check out Manny's book. But we can get this done if everyone thinks of clever ways to let these people, they're on Twitter, there's a lot of ways to find who the Hall of Fame voters are who aren't voting for Walker, and let them know some of this information.
I did not put Drew up to that.
But you should have.
Well, I didn't.
Well, tell us about your book, the title, and all that other stuff, and how to get it.
What's that?
Tell us about your book, Kyle.
Amazon.com,
Okay.
Amazon.com, just type in Blake Street Bombers, and it'll be the first thing you see on November 18th. You can pre-order it right now, but that's just for Kindle. And then paperback is available November 18th as well. You just order from it, but it's all through Amazon, so that's where you get it. I'm going to let Dan chime in on another huge factor, obviously, for Blair Walker, is injuries. And you know what, let me go through a couple slides, actually, because we're going to get to something that would be perfect to have up there while we do that. We did Derek Jeter. Let's do Ken Griffey Jr. Career on the road. These two are the 1997 MVPs. In the National League, it was Larry Walker, and in the American League, it was Ken Griffey Jr. Career road OPS. Griffey, 860. Walker, 865. What do you want? I mean, you know, all the stuff about Coors Field, and yet we see that Larry Walker actually basically was the same as Ken Griffey Jr. on the road. Consider this. If Ken Griffey Jr. retired after the 04 season, which would have been 1,997 games, Walker played 1,988. Would he not be a Hall of Famer? That's the question. Would you not vote for Ken Griffey Jr. if you decided to hang him up after the 2004 season? And that's another guy with a lot of injuries, by the way. OPS plus, Griffey, 144, Walker 141, very comparable. Wins above replacement, Griffey 79.3 and Walker 72.7. Griffey's a 10-time Gold Glover, Walker's a 7-time Gold Glover. So two questions. If Griffey retired in 04, is he not a Hall of Famer? And number two, is Walker comparable enough to Griffey during that period then, that if Griffey was still a Hall of Famer, how could Walker not be? And let's go to the next slide here. Yeah, but he didn't play though. And this is where we can get into the injuries. There are 57 position players in the Hall of Fame who played fewer games than Walker did. Vladimir Guerrero, who was just inducted in 2018, played in 159 more games than Walker, which is less than one season. I'm going to let Dan take over here.
All right, so this was always the shot, right? This is the thing that everybody talks about. Coors, he's hurt. Coors, he's hurt. How did he get hurt? Crashing into walls, taking guys out at second base. So I played a little game, because I really like this guy, okay? Walker, over the course of his career, played 78% of the possible games his team could play. Right, and that's slightly below average. But for me, I've sat in that chair. When they extended him, what was it, after the whatever season, I forget, but you don't give a guy an extension on your club if you think he's injury prone and high risk or a whiny, soft player. I know I wouldn't. I know just about every practitioner in the game would not. Your trainer, your owner, your club, they're going to go, we can't give him that kind of money. This guy's hurt all the time. The Rockies extended him. Folks, I've been a general manager. You know your player better than anybody else. If he was that guy, he doesn't get the extension. It doesn't happen. So remember, 78% of his team's games. Ken Griffey Jr., who for me is the best player I've ever seen. Ken Griffey Jr. played 76% of his team's games in his career. He played fewer games availability than Walker. Walker's last 10 years, hey, let's be honest, didn't post all the time. Okay, we all know that. Well, he played 140 games 3 times, and he averaged 118 games from 96 to 05. Now, you'll qualify for the fielding percentage championship for that because you played 2/3 of your team's games. It's 108, that's the barrier. Griffey, over his last 10 years, played 140 games 2 times to Walker's 3. And Griffey averaged 99 games a season. So Griffey, who's elite, Griffey, who's unbelievable, Griffey, who was the highest plurality until Rivera came along. Better than Seaver, better than everybody. Griffey was not penalized. Griffey performed at a higher level than Walker, no doubt, a multi-dimensional player, but Griffey actually was more injury prone and more disabledist oriented than Walker. So when anybody takes a shot at Walker, you just come back with Griffey, and Griffey's a better player, no doubt, but that wasn't held against him. He wasn't a second, third, fourth, 10th ballot guy, and he shouldn't have been. He was an elite player. So 78% of his total games, hey, that's, you know what, that's not ideal, but there's another really darn good player, baseball royalty, in Griffey, who actually missed more.
Now we come to, I believe this is our last slide, and I'm going to have Wayne and Dan give us their closing remarks, and then we'll just open it up to questions of these folks. Larry Walker, and this is the bottom line, Larry Walker was a more valuable player based on wins above replacement than 8 of the last 13 position players elected to the Hall of Fame. Chipper Jones had the highest of those 13, 85.2, Ken Griffey Jr., 83.8, Jeff Bagwell, 79.9, Frank Thomas, 73.9, and Jim Thome, 72.9. And then there's Larry Walker, who has to be highlighted in yellow because he's not in the Hall of Fame, 72.7. Barry Larkin, who, by the way, Mike Rice of KOA, I got to give him credit, on Twitter recently put out there and said, Barry Larkin actually also averaged fewer games per season during his career than Larry Walker. So throw him in there with Ken Griffey Jr. and tell us why Walker's not Hall of Fame. And then these are the guys below Walker from the last 13 years that have been elected in terms of his value during his career. Tim Raines, Ivan Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, Roberto Alomar, Craig Biggio, Andre Dawson, and Mike Piazza. You know, this has been fantastic. I think we've given people a lot to think about, and I think, you know, I hope that whoever's watching on video, preferably a Hall of Fame voter, will really take this into consideration before they come to Larry Walker's name on the ballot and decide whether to check that off or not here in his last year of eligibility. I'm going to turn it over to Wayne now, and these will be our closing remarks.
Great job on the baseball cards, by the way. I think I have come up with why I think Walker has been looked at with a different set of eyes than most players. I take you to spring training. Patrick, before you leave, remember when you went to spring training, how much fun it was at High Corbett Field? Yeah. And Thomas, you know, he worked diligently. I mean, he treated that like it was the game in September that got you to the playoffs. No one treated spring training like it was an important time of year. So, yeah, I couldn't wait for the golf round afterwards. Couldn't wait. So this happened at High Corbett Field. I watched the game, I broadcast it. They must have had 50 or 60 players in this game, and you know, I'm making up names at the end. I'm serious. Tom Johnson is from whatever. I don't even care. We had 3 99s playing in the game. I don't know. Poor Warren Miller. How in the world you do spring training games is beyond me. I swear to goodness. So I watched this game. It's a spring training game. It's early in spring training. And as I'm walking to my car, the general manager of the Rockies, Dan O'Dowd, is walking with me. Now, if you all know Dan O'Dowd, very animated. And he goes, "Can you believe that? Can you believe that?" And I go, "Believe what?" I don't even know what the game was. I don't care. Because it's, you know, it's spring training. He goes, "I looked at Larry Walker. He's done. He's done. I know baseball, and he can't catch up to a fastball." It's spring training. Walker was working his way into shape for opening day. This was early spring training. Now remember when he said, "I know the game," and I'm not taking a shot at Dan. He said this. He goes, he's done. He can't catch up to a fastball. I hate to tell you, but he won his 3rd batting title that year. It was 2001. They had expectations of Walker even in spring training games, which wasn't fair.
I want to say a couple of things. First of all, Manny, exceptional, just exceptional. And the baseball cards, that's just phenomenal. I think that was the coolest thing. Paul Parker, awesome putting this together, letting us run with this. Because this is one of the things we can do as a chapter. We can get behind this man's candidacy. He played the bulk of his career here. We can help him get to the finish line. And Paul, thanks for giving Manny and all of us the chance to do this. Very cool.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Let's say these two guys. I mean, we have a former GM. We have the first play-by-play voice of the Rockies who covered Larry Walker for a decade. Nobody can speak with more authority on him. Another round of applause, please, for these guys. I also want to bring up Patrick Saunders one more time before we close it.
Hey, Ray, thanks for coming. Hey, I have a huge collection of baseball books in my home office, and there was overflowing my little office. So in the back table, there's a wide assortment of books. They're free for the taking if you want them. Some of them are great, some of them are But I think that if you're a baseball fan and love to read about baseball, feel free to peruse and take what you want. Those that they're not spoken for tonight, Manny we'll go ahead and bring to the event a week from Saturday. Okay, so I just wanted to say, those are free for the taking, so take a look.
Thank you for that package. We are going to do right now, we still have this room for another 25 minutes or so, and we definitely want to leave time for questions of these folks. Questions of anybody in here, Thomas, Patrick, these two gentlemen here. Yes, sir.
How do we determine who the voters are if we want to contact these voters?
I have a list.
Ryan
Thibodeau sent me a list, so we can, let's talk.
And all right, let's do that. Let's find a way to.
Absolutely, these two guys have the list, and they're making phone calls as well. This is a real push. We're doing everything we can, and we're glad that there are a lot of people supportive of this, because I think people are waking up to the fact that it's an absolute travesty that Larry Walker is having to gain 21% his last year to get to the Hall of Fame. Other questions? Yes.
Larry Walker, I think Patrick quoted him many times, my PED is Coors Field.
Yes, for those who can't hear, the comment is that Larry Walker would often say, my PED is Coors Field.
But, and the other thing is, has anybody ever seen anybody with white flat, blue, green, purple, polka dot, cut faces the way that guy cut faces? Have you seen any? Ever? Doubt?
The question is, have you ever seen anybody cut the bases like Larry Walker?
Not somebody that size.
Not something that size, that's a great point. Davey Lopes could do it. He was one of the best base runners I ever saw.
But the way it's
Roberto Alomar.
natural, unbelievable.
He had 6 tools. I haven't come up with the 6th yet, but he had it. That's how good he was.
No, I just think instincts is the sixth tool. It is definitely the sixth tool, and he had it. The great ones have it. When you take a look at the guys we've seen on that list, there's a reason why you hit a 2-0 changeup the other way, 390 feet for a home run, because you're looking. It's an elite skill. You know, Wayne brought something up earlier today that I don't know if all of you know. He did not play a lot of baseball. Do you know what his signing bonus was? $1,500. Jim Fanning, one of my absolute super mentors in my career. Signed him for $1,500. He wasn't a drafted player because Canada wasn't part of the draft at that point. He got $1,500, and he was so crude. The story Wayne told about cutting across the field, one of my scouts was there that day. And he called me and he said, Danny, I saw something I thought I would never see. You don't see it in U12. And he told me, and I said, well, how did he get to first? And he said, well, you know this. He said, the guy's so interesting, but he has no clue what he's doing. Think about going from that. See, this is how I look at it. I look at that as achieving baseball intelligence, because if you don't know that you can't cut across, and now 20 years later we're talking about him being elite, that to me is great progress.
I meant cutting corners.
Yeah, I'll get to this. And I was talking to Larry's dad for the book, and Larry's dad, Larry Sr., still umpires games right now. I don't know how old he is, got to be in his 80s. Played semi-pro ball himself. He was actually more into baseball than Larry Jr. But then he told me a story about when they were driving to Vancouver, and Maple Ridge, where Larry grew up, born and raised, is about 30-45 minutes outside Vancouver. So they're driving to Vancouver, they get to the hotel to sign, to have, you know, there's $1,500 on the table. What Larry said, you know, then they came knocking with the big bucks. And so Larry's dad said, we're sitting there in the hotel, me, Larry, and the scout. Rogers, it was Bob Rogers. And I just looked at Larry and said, you want to play professional baseball? He looked back at me and said, yeah. I said, okay, let's get on with it then. And that was it. Larry Walker was a professional baseball player. What questions? Yeah.
The really impressive thing about Walker's WAR is that it's a cumulative park-adjusted stat.
Right.
It kills him for being hurt, it kills him for being played at Coors Field. And you see where he is on that leaderboard.
That's a great point.
I'm going to be tweeting a lot of things once the World Series ends about Walker's Hall of Fame. One of my favorite Walker stats, his OPS, his last year in Montreal was 988. His first year in Denver was 981. His last year in Denver, last full year in Denver, 03 was 898. With the Cardinals, a year and a half, 908. He had an arc to his career, and the fact that he was in Colorado during the best part of his career is killing him with Hall of Fame voters, but I think he would have put up numbers that approach most places.
Absolutely.
Maybe not quite those, but in 97 his road OPS was higher than his home OPS.
That's a great point that hadn't been mentioned in Ted, right?
Yes.
Ted makes a great point. It is that in 1997, this is the quintessential Larry Walker stat to debunk all these things that people try to say about how he's not worthy of the Hall of Fame. In 97, he put up a 1169 OPS here down the street. His OPS on the road was 1176. He hit 49 homers, 20 of them over here, and 29 of them on the road. He also hit 49 homers and stole 33 bases that year. 33 was apt, because that's his number, that's his superstition.
That's the most homers anyone's ever had in a 30-30 season. Yelich was going to break it this year.
That's right. Yelich was going to break that, but he got hurt. The most home runs in a 30-30 year was still Larry Walker. That's a great point. Thank you for that. Harm, did you have a question?
Little Larry Walker trivia time. I know somebody's going to get it. Name his first professional team. Where did he play?
Name Larry Walker's first professional baseball team. Where did he play? Who's got this? Anybody?
Vero Beach. Where?
Burlington Expos. I have to look back. Somebody pull up his baseball reference page.
Vero Beach Expos, that's my guess.
The what? Vero Beach?
I'm like 98% sure.
Medicine Hat.
Utica Blue Sox.
Utica. You're actually right. Utica Blue Sox. Oh yeah. And I'll tell you a story about Utica.
It's good.
Utica was a place that you sent guys that were long shots. Otherwise they go to West Palm Beach. Felipe Alou managed him at West Palm Beach. The end of that first year, his first professional season. This guy had never seen forkballs, he'd never seen sliders, he's never seen these pitches. And so I think he had like 213 that first year and a couple homers, and the next year his OPS was like 800. This is how quickly this guy picked it up. I was talking to Felipe Alou for the book as well, and he said, I didn't really get a chance to see him until the end of that first year when they sent him from New York over here to West Palm Beach because we were trying to get into the playoffs or whatever. And then I saw him and I said, I saw one of the best players I've ever seen. I knew he was going to be a superstar, and he has one of the most accurate arms I think I've seen in my whole life. Larry said that in Utica, he lived with like 3 other guys in a rundown house where mac and cheese for dinner every night, and he would have this leak that would perpetually drip on his face while he was sleeping every night. So that life in the minor league.
One point that is not brought up, and I bring this up with the current Rockies players as well, we all know that the Coors Field difference is real. All right, we know the ball breaks different. We know the ball travels farther at Coors Field. But the thing that always bugs me, it's a pet peeve of mine when I talk to other writers from around the country, be it Nolan Arenado, Todd Helton, Trevor Story, Larry Walker, on and on and on. They're penalized for success at their home ballpark. But nobody ever gives them credit as hitters for the ability to adjust to a different ballpark. Going from a 10-game homestand at Coors Field to play on the West Coast at Petco, Dodger Stadium, or what is it now, Oracle Park, it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. So when a player like Nolan Arenado, like Larry Walker, like Todd Helton, is a good enough hitter to still be not just an average hitter, but an above average hitter on the road in other ballparks, trying to make that adjustment to all those factors after playing a long time over a long, grueling season in altitude, those special players, they should be rewarded and praised for their ability to do that rather than penalized. That's one thing nobody brought up, and I think it's important.
Yeah, Patrick, that is a great point. Anybody remember Jeff Cirillo? Came here as a third baseman, and he said it best, this is on what Patrick was talking about. He says, when you stand in Coors Field, in the batter's box, you look out and you go, where is everybody? Because it's such a big ballpark. And he says, when we went on the road, it's like, where are the holes? It's like the whole field shrunk. And I think that played a mental effect on them to the point where they didn't play as well on the road as they did at Coors Field. But Jeff Cirillo actually said that, and I never forgot that, and Patrick brought that up again. It was good. Yes, sir.
I don't want to piss off everybody.
He doesn't want to make everybody upset in the room, is what he's saying.
But you said 13. I think you forgot number 14. And the guy's name is Pete Rose. And this man still holds the most hits in the history of baseball.
Right.
But yet, because of the gambling thing, he's never going to get in the Hall of Fame. But no one ever mentions Pete Rose. And I think that...
He wasn't in that category. He didn't have that kind of power.
But he had more hits than anybody.
He cheated. Gambling. For me, there's an absolute bullshit. Gambling on his own team.
This is about Larry Walker.
Yeah.
This is about Larry Walker, not Pete Rose. Pete Rose is out of the game. He's banned from the game. That says it all.
Yeah. And the thing is, all he had to do is say, I have a problem, please forgive me. And the entire country probably would have done so, but it cost a commissioner's life also. Because that broke A. Bartlett Giamatti's heart when he had to deal with people. He didn't want to do that to him. Broke his heart. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I haven't followed the ballot. I don't know who's on the ballot. Usually there's a couple of guys toward the top that just about made it last time who might make it. Who's the competition for Larry Walker this time?
Just Jeter, apparently.
Jeter and who else?
That'd be somebody else.
Chris Schilling, Barry Bonds, Clemens.
Yeah, Bonds and Clemens are.
I mean,
Yes.
Favorite Larry Walker moment from each of the three, just a moment. We've done a lot of stats, a lot of the people along saying, but from his career, pick a moment or two.
When he rode the motorcycle into the clubhouse and Jim Leland went crazy.
That's the one.
Larry Walker, to me, I really don't have a moment, but I will say that I don't know why I uttered these words, but I remember he threw out David DeLucci, the player who tagged on him at third base and tried to score, and that's the first time I ever said it.